Local recordings. Okay. If you are in the market for buying a home or looking to sell your home, but mainly the topic conversation is when buying a home, it's super important. It'll save you a lot of headache, a lot of heartache to know the conditions of the home, things to consider, loan qualifications or loan program that you're tied into, what things to avoid. So we're going to chat with Chase Hodgson today about all that to bring you up to speed on things to consider. How you doing today, Chase?
Fantastic, Jared. Thanks for having me again, my brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Always good to have you on. Bear with me a little bit as I'm going with this new camera and some audio changes, but hopefully everything will work just as it's supposed to. But a couple of real quick housekeeping things for those of you that I haven't met. My name is Jerod Lee. I'm the associate broker and team lead at My Home Connection. We do have a sponsor for today. Chase is actually partnered with us. Summit Funding has partnered with us to offer up to $500 for your appraisal, and we'll help up to $500 on your home inspection at closing. But the perfect home buying process also consists of a number of other things, from reports that you'll want to have to a weekly podcast series we'll send out to answer a bunch of your home buying questions. And then we've got some secrets that we want to share with you, insider secrets to help keep things smooth. But other than that, I'll bring Chase back on and we can chat a little bit about why it is that as a buyer, and even to some degree as a seller, we'll touch on that briefly, but we'll talk about it more in the perfect home selling process, what the headaches are associated to not being considerate of the condition of the home. So you're on the lending side and what you've mapped them to in the way of a loan product. And then on my side, what homes are we even beginning to look at? And most people don't take into consideration that they should be aware of what loan program you've helped them get into even before they start looking.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I would like to add that that almost decades worth of appraisal experience kind of falls into this realm too. There's a third insight that that I can help with a little bit. So it is super super important, right? Knowing the agent, the agent that you're working with, and that communication between the lender and the agent, and you as the buyer, on what type of loan product that you're working. So when you're shopping for a home, we know what standards that home has to meet in order to be able to close a loan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess probably the most extreme story that I could share is because I've seen it enough times and it's caused a lot of frustration that buyers that we're working with have not, or in some cases will not, engage with you as a lender, are looking for distressed properties because they're of the opinion that they can get a good value on a home. They spend a significant amount of time finding that property that they can rehab, that they can hopefully step into some equity, all to find out that the loan product that you're going to put them in, an FHA or maybe even a VA, the home won't even qualify for.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We definitely
So,
see that. We see that a lot. As you well know, Jared, a lot of times in our industry, um, people get excited. Like buying a home is there's two parts, right? Typically, that decision originates from the more financial side of the brain, decision making process. It's going to be better for us long term. We're going to build equity. We're going to, that'll help us put money away. We're investing in something. And then once you get that idea set in your head, then it kind of turns to an emotional process, especially if you've looked on Zillow and all the available online tools that you have now, right? Now you get emotional and you get excited. And so you bypass, a couple of the first steps, one of them being like really sitting down with your agent and figuring out, what it is you want and need, and allowing them to guide you through that process,
mm-hmm.
and also visiting with your lender to see what you qualify for, what type of loan your product you're going to be in, to make sure that the home that you're looking at, you can actually, close that product on that home. So Yeah,
Yeah.
we tend to get the cart gets before the horse a little bit in some of these instances.
Well, we've had an entire podcast on the importance of planning, and we had that by design because
Mhm.
uh, the way that people enter the real estate market today is significantly different than how they used to do it. When homes weren't online, you only accessed active homes by going to a real estate agent who had them literally in a cabinet in their office. So you
Right,
didn't see those properties, so you had to go to an agent and they would help you know the importance of getting pre-qualified for a loan so that they could show you the homes that were pertinent, relevant, and qualified for their loan. So you didn't
right,
get the cart before the horse. In today's world, folks go on the Zillows, the Redfins, or maybe our site, find a property thinking, you know what, I'm going to do my research and get ready, and then I'll get my loan queued up when I'm ready. And they're looking at homes that potentially just aren't even homes that they should be looking at because we haven't
right,
determined that.
right. Yeah, absolutely. It can be a buzzkill. Like
Yeah.
they have to give them that news, right? Especially if they're already, looking at making an offer or possibly under contract. We've seen that in some instances. Most agents don't allow that before they're pre-qualified anymore, but it still happens on occasion. So
Mm-hmm.
making sure that we're walking through the steps appropriately and in the right order so that your agent and your lender can put you in the right position is super super important. And getting into those different loan products, right, like you brought up, like FHA, VA, the government type loans have much stricter standards on what will meet, what guidelines that property has to meet in order to qualify
Mm-hmm.
for that loan.
Mm-hmm.
you know
Mm-hmm.
Conventional has standards as well, but it is and industry wide it's much looser than what you have to qualify for through any type of government loan, whether that's FHA, VA, USDA, all of the above.
Yeah. Yeah, now there are things, that you can do if there's a specific type of home that they want, like let's say they do want to put in some sweat equity, they do want to work on it. By working with you and getting, pre-qualified in the process, you might identify today they only qualify for an FHA loan, and you can have the discussion of, hey, you need to change the homes that you're looking at. Your agent, hopefully, My Home Connection is helping you narrow down your search so that you're not looking at non-qualified homes. But
Right,
you might say, hey, if we do a few things over the next weeks and months, we can get you to qualify for a conventional loan. Then you can
right.
meet your objectives of trying to find something a little more distressed and use some of that sweat equity and put in some effort to to bring the home up to speed. So again, back to the planning side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you're really doing yourself as a client, you're really doing yourself a disservice if you're not working with an agent and a lender who have your best interest and your best financial interest in mind, right? As a lender, I want to be educated on how to help you the best financially. And so knowing how to improve your credit score, help you pay down debt, invest after the fact, at least have those connections that we can introduce you to, if and always get you moving in the right direction. All right, always helping to improve your financial position.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're not working with people that have that kind of a mind, you're doing yourself a disservice. But to your point, Jerod, like I'm a lot of times it can be, I think we've closed a couple buys that we worked with, over a year's time or more, to get them ready to buy, to help them along.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really important. People really don't understand what it takes to buy a home for the most part,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's why we're here to help educate you. I think it's almost like a sickness in our country anymore. Just the lack of financial education from the from as a youth, as a young man, a young woman, a student. Like this country just it does horribly at providing that information, and so they get to us and they don't even really understand how to build good credit or why they need it, right? And so a lot of times the first time they figure out that they need it is when they go to buy a home
Yeah.
and find out they can't or they're not ready.
Yeah, and that's in large part why we developed the perfect home buying process is because things are changing, and if you don't, um, do things in a methodical way, you can get yourself into bad situations, lose earnest money, be frustrated on losing out on your dream home because you weren't prepared. So to map it out, to plan it out, and then by the way, interject some offers to help make that, you know, even
Yeah.
more enticing. I think always helps, but. Um, to also, even if you're in the same loan product, to improve your position, there might be minor tweaks that you could either reduce your rate or your buying power, or a little mixture of both, and
Right.
expand the properties that you have access to. I think that's always smart. The one thing that I wanted to mention, and my mind went in a couple of different directions, but it was not planning, finding that property. If an agent isn't aware that you don't qualify for that and they get you under contract, you now become in jeopardy of your earnest money.
Right.
Um, there are things that you can do in the middle of the transaction to try to overcome that. Let's say, for whatever reason, neither agent was aware that, hey, this is an FHA buyer and the home doesn't quite qualify for an FHA loan. Um, the seller can, you can try to recover in remediating those issues during the escrow process, but the sellers don't always have the wherewithal to do that. And I'd probably very rarely, if ever, encourage you as the buyer to do that. I mean, actually, now that I think about it, I wouldn't, because if it falls, out of escrow, any investment you've made as a buyer into the property is lost. So
Right.
anyway, I'm just saying we're trying to get ahead of those potential issues as best we can. There are some options where you can recover, but sometimes you just can't.
Yeah. And again, that goes to the quality of agent that you're working with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And making sure that your agent and your lender are speaking to one another so that they're informed on what they should be looking for. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I know I kind of got us off track there a little bit, but we're talking about all these issues, right? We're talking about the like government loans, right? FHA, USDA, VA, and their standards. And to break it down just a little bit, it has to meet three purposes, right? So those loans have to meet three purposes: and safety, security, and soundness, right? So the in the safety part, it's talking about a healthy environment, and so there's certain things that you have to an inspector will have to check a box for, right? Security, it's going to offer the property or the occupants protection, and then soundness, you should be structurally sound from defect,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of a broad spectrum for the FHA, for the government loans like FHA and VA.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you break it down, right, then you get into so to give you a few examples of each one, the probably the first one I think that, and you could probably this goes. This is on for all loans, right? Is paint, right? Cracked and peeling paint.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's different for FHA for government loans, but it's there's a lead based paint disclosure um, on the contract, right, on the
Mm-hmm.
purchase and sale agreement.
Mm-hmm.
But then to take it a little bit further, any chipping paint typically has to be covered up, painted over, or repaired on an
Mm-hmm.
FHA, on any type of government loan. You have to be free of asbestos. You have to have handrails in place. The crawl space has to be ventilated so it doesn't grow mold. There can't be any mold or anything, any discoloring in the bathrooms. All the toilets have to be functional. The showers, the plumbing has to be functional. The HVAC, right? The heating and air has to be functional. The roof has to have, so many years left of life. Those are all issues that you're going to face with a government loan.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you think of anything else that you want to address there, Jared?
The one that I found, kind of interesting early on in my career was like the VA trip hazards. You can't have,
Yeah.
sidewalks, where, a handicapped or a person would trip on. But those
We
are
actually
all.
had a deal a few years back, right?
Oh, that was our deal.
Where that
Okay.
came up, right, we're trying to close. We had to have the sidewalk raised. I think I
Yeah.
remember that, right?
Yeah, but I think the overarching, the important thing to know is a couple of things that you can potentially come across an inexperienced or lesser experienced agent that's listing the home that is not
Hmm.
looking for those things.
Right.
As a buyer's agent, where you're helping the buyer come into the home, our job is to make sure that the home was listed correctly. If I come in and I automatically start seeing chip painting, exposed wood, and it's identified as a VA or an FHA home, I know the listing agent, you know, incorrectly is marketing the home, and I can
Right.
raise the flag sooner than later. Talk to the listing agent, say, hey, is some of this stuff going to be remedied prior to close? Because what will happen if you have two inexperienced agents, they're all excited, found the home, put it under, put an offer in, get under contract, and you're moving along. It's the
Yeah.
buyer's earnest money that's on the hook.
Always. Yeah.
you know,
Always.
to lose. I mean, there's stuff that you can do. You've got your due diligence period and all that, but that's not the position you want to be in.
Yeah.
Is trying to recover from that.
Yeah, and it's always those interesting things, right, where you find out, right? We were able to remedy the sidewalk portion that had been missed, but it's in the home too, trip hazards, right? Missing and loose floor coverings, you know. Just a lot of those little items like that, exposed electrical, all that. Even if you're missing a plug out, outlet cover, which seems to be a little thing, like those are all checked very thoroughly in any type of government loan.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and always it's the borrower's money that's at risk. So
Yeah,
you definitely
and
want to
and
be.
and I kind of take back, that you shouldn't look at these homes, but a good agent, if especially when inventory is low, you got to think out of the box a little bit. But if a good agent will lean into something that isn't otherwise identified as qualifying for the loan program that you're in, can talk through again, hopefully prior to being in contract with the seller, that
Mhm.
hey, what things are really the issue that's disqualifying this home for meeting the standards for this loan type, and what resources do your sellers have to address this? But my point is, sometimes you can find deals like that because a seller has a constrained buyer pool because they've omitted it as a FHA or a VA. So now their buyer pool is very small and they're not getting as much traffic and interest in that property. And if you've got a buyer that's struggling to find something they want, but a good agent can help you navigate that, again, putting some things in place to make sure that there's some outs if the seller doesn't address these issues, know what
Yeah.
proper contingencies to put in place. Anyway,
Yep.
all back to planning, right? Who you working
Hmm.
with from a lender that can identify this stuff? Who you working with an agent that can identify this stuff? Who's an agent that has the experience to navigate, some of these things, to think out of the box and to navigate those out of the box scenarios.
Right. And also knows the loan programs. Like we just briefly went over all the things they'll kind of look at. FHA conventional is much more loose, right? If you can get qualified for that, um, it's basically has to be structurally sound, right? So they'll look at
Hmm.
that, you know, roof and framing and walls and in the foundation, right? Making sure that stuff's structurally sound, and then it's insurable, and you're for the most part pretty good to go, right? Every appraiser looks at things a little bit differently and interprets those guidelines for them a little bit differently. Same with the inspectors, right?
Hmm.
But it's much looser conventionally. But the other thing to know is that okay, so you have all those repairs, and you only qualify for an FHA mortgage. Well, they have a renovation loan for a
Hmm.
FHA. It's called an FHA 203K. So you could if you qualify, you can possibly get those repairs done inside your loan, right? So it's knowing all of those different things is super important.
Yeah, on the conventional, I'm surprised, and things change, so you always want to be in the know about that, right? What was important was not important yesterday could become important today. So,
Yeah, yeah,
be careful who you're what source you're referring to because
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, and all you know as well as I do. You've been in the business forever. It's our guidelines on the lending side change every single year, right? And in every market, as the this fall things begin to tighten down. Guidelines got stiffer, right, as the market deteriorated a little bit and interest rates went up. Everybody's trying to secure their interest. And so the banks want to protect themselves against, and just like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, that government subsidized programs, they all want to protect themselves against foreclosure. And so as the market changes, those guidelines stiffen or loosen a little bit to kind of match that. And then there's with every governing party, right? Each new class into Congress, everybody has different ideas on how to regulate what we do, and
Hmm.
so that stuff changes all the time.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
really have to be
and
on.
yeah, and I'm not trying to discourage folks from looking at those things. I had a really good uh, example of a transaction a number of years ago where the property was the home was in horrific condition. There was no way it was going to qualify for any government subsidized loan. It barely qualified for a conventional. We
Hmm.
actually had to go out and get a roof certification. I think they required 3 years at the time,
Yeah,
certifying that the roof would last. And actually, it was a unique situation where the buyer wanted to live adjacent to his parents, so had a very specific property that he wanted. It just happened to come on the market and they jumped on it. Well, we kind of changed things up a little bit, and his folks bought it because it needed to go conventional and then needed the certification. So there's things that you
yeah,
can do to pull this off, but you definitely want to know what's entailed in that, um, and know what the requirements are, what the standards are, what
yeah.
the seller will do, a number of things before you get deep into the process.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't want to deter anyone from buying a home, because that's what you need to do, right? Like but owning primary real estate is your first step in building wealth. I 100% believe that. It's how I started. It's how everybody I know started, and so it's definitely your first step. So you need to do that, but it's to illustrate knowing who you're working with, right? Knowing that they're educated, knowing that they're experienced, and that they can
Right.
help you through this process and come out the other side with you in a better uh, position, not just for your family, but a better financial position than you were going into it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. This is I'll probably regret doing this, but I, uh, I had something come up that I just thought was hysterical that I'd love to share, and if I spend too much time doing it, I'll bow out. Um, but it was super funny. Um, it was hopefully the audio plays for this and plays it right, but I thought it was cute. So here we go. We'll give it a shot. So
Well, I couldn't hear the audio, but we definitely got the gist of that thing. And that's too real.
the audio adds quite a bit, but yeah, you definitely get the gist. So, um, our job is to know when things are going to pop up, or hopefully they don't pop up at all. But even if they pop up, who to go to, get the answers, solve the problem.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing we highly encourage at My Home Connection in the perfect home buying process is, all of our agents, some of the associate brokers I mentioned, I work very closely with my team to make sure that folks that don't have a ton of experience, that intimate with what's going on, to make sure any pitfalls are avoided. So what I'm saying is, I always encourage you to try to find an experienced agent, specifically for your needs, what you want to do. Um,
Hmm.
but another potential kind of fallback is an agent that has the right heart to do the right thing for you, but is
Yeah.
supported by and backed up by a good, team lead to make sure things go smoothly.
Yeah, I think that's super important. Every, I don't know. There are great lenders. There's a lot of great lenders. There's a lot of great realtors. And as a lender, I think the public, they get, especially what's going on right now. I know I'm kind of getting us off topic, but I just want to take a second and say how grateful that I am for the realtors that I work with. Right? I think they get a really bad rap, especially with the lawsuits and stuff that are going on right now nationally. Right? You guys are in the eye. We covered this in a podcast a little bit.
One bad apple.
Right. And so you can't throw out the whole batch. And I have to tell you, time and time again, I have seen the agents I work with get my clients out of trouble and help move the transaction along and help them find their dream home or their vacation home or their investment property, whatever that is. And so they're an invaluable piece of buying real estate, because I'm here to tell you, there is way more than just signing a contract and going to title. Right? There's a lot that goes into it, and if there's a few people in the world that can do this without us. I get it. Like your experience, what's going on. You've done this a lot. The majority of the public hasn't. Right. They don't have that experience, or they buy once every 7 to 10 years, right? When things have changed a ton.
Yeah.
And the realtors are the ones that are getting educated every year, and staying on top of the market and knowing how best to help you. Yeah. I promise you the transaction's better with our friends, the real estate agents, in it every time.
And, I know in our industry to a large extent, and I'm sure in others as well, it's not known just how good your LO is or your real estate agent is. Generally, the good ones have it covered. They have, they have the knowledge, they have the experience to make sure that things don't come up, or if they come up, they get shot down, brought down very quickly, and you can move on. So it's, it's easy to underappreciate a good, experienced, LO or agent, because you don't see what's going on in the background. You're not aware of the things that could have come up. Only the ones that don't do it right or don't have the experience and things absolutely blow up, those are the ones that end up in the news or in the story, in the rumor mill. Those are the ones that get talked about. Oh, my idiot agent didn't see blah blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Insert horror story here. By the way, I haven't mentioned this to you yet, but I'm trying to figure out how to play this out. I'm thinking of a horror story series to talk about those very things, to help avoid. But I have to figure out how to sensitively approach that. Protect the protect the innocent. Anyway,
protect the guilty.
Protect the guilty in that case. Yeah. But yeah, Chase, we've hit our 25 minute mark. We try to keep it concise, keep it valuable to you as the watchers, the viewers. But really, the takeaway is there's a lot to think about. We think about this all day, every day. We have your best interest at heart. The sooner you come to us, get qualified on the lending side, plan things out financially. I get the go-ahead from you in the direction we can be going, the homes we should be looking at, the price point we should be entertaining. It's just going to make things, so much smoother, save you time, knock down headaches. So there's a lot of detail here, but all to say, we cover the details. That's what we're here for.
Yep, absolutely. It's one of, if not the most important purchase of your life for the majority of the public. It's not one of 10, right? Like that's, it's the majority of us. It's the most expensive thing we're going to purchase and most important. It can be life-changing. And so understand who you're working with.
Yeah.
That's the best advice. Make sure that they communicate well. They communicate well with your agent. and that you feel they have your best interest at heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So us,
Absolutely.
need to work with us. That's what we're saying.
I'm sorry. What's that?
So it's us. They need to work with us. That's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah, yeah. There you go. Yeah, we'll just make it simple for you. Well, let's talk about how to take advantage of the perfect home buying process and how to work with us before we sign off here. But it's just very simple. We've got our contact information, our phone number, and email on our homepage, myhomeconnection.com. Chase's contact information is at summitfunding.net. So reach out to either of us, just reference that program, Perfect Home Buying Program. And we'll start the no obligation, no cost consultation, because that's the getting the ball rolling side of things. There's a reason why we have that consultation, to address all the things, try to get ahead of all the things that we just mentioned. So make it simple, very simple to get started on the program and get in touch with us.
Sounds good. I
Awesome.
love it.
I do too, Chase.
A lot of value there.
Yeah, yeah. So I sincerely, as always, appreciate you jumping on today and sharing your knowledge with the viewers.
Anytime. I thoroughly enjoy this. It's always good to have a conversation with you, my friend, and I look forward to it every single time.
Same. All right, everybody. Well, we'll sign off. I'll wish you a blessed one.
Take care.